September 2023 has been quite a special month for anime fans across the globe. Recently, Naruto completed its 20th anniversary, while the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen is running in full swing with the beginning of the Shibuya incident arc. Amid all the excitement in the air for the new releases this month, Season 2 of Kengan Ashura has created quite a buzz among fans who thrive on brutal fights and thrilling action sequences. The anime adaptation of Darumeon's Kengan Ashura made its debut on Netflix in 2019. While quite a lot of anime content has made its way onto the streaming platform, Kengan Ashura has been successful in establishing itself as one of the best fighting anime shows in recent years. In fact, it has also garnered a unique fanbase, consisting of the otakus as well as the rookies who have just stepped into the world of anime. With its insane stunts and mesmerizing visuals, fans can't help but wait for the upcoming season of Kengan Ashura, and the credit goes to the protagonist himself, Tokita Ohma. The 6-foot-tall fighter with a Herculean build has made a mark on the viewers for his rough yet affable nature. But Tokita goes by a rather terrifying alias among fighters, both professional and amateurs, Ashura, which is also there in the name of the anime as well. So, why is the show called Kengan Ashura? Most importantly, why is Tokita known as the Ashura? Power and glory at stake. What exactly is Kengan about? And how does Tokita figure into this? Let's first break down the name of the anime, Kengan and Ashura. For now, we will explore the first word and discuss the second one at length in the next segment. So, the word Kengan comes from the name Kengan Annihilation Tournament, an important fighting competition that functions as a mode of conflict resolution among wealthy merchants and business moguls. Created by Katahara Matsudo, the Kengan Annihilation Tournament emerged from the concept of gladiator fights that were quite popular during the Edo period in Japan. In the gladiator arenas where these battles were held, rich business owners would hire fighters to participate in unarmed combat. This eventually became a way for various companies to resolve problems among themselves by hiring such fighters to represent them and battle until one of them emerged victorious. But the Kengan Annihilation Tournament is not just about adapting the gladiator culture in the modern age. It has got something more to it. In order to participate in this competition, one must be a member of the Kengan Association. Interestingly, each of these members is a CEO or a major figure that represents an influential business or company. In a way, the Kengan Association can be described as a guild that resolves any conflict among its members via the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. Besides the usual betting that takes place in this underworld combat event, the main purpose of these fights is to decide the new chairman of the association. So, this would mean that the companies would hire a fighter each, who would, in turn, represent them in the tournament to battle against their opponents until the best of them wins in the final match, and thus the CEO of the respective company would become the next chairman of the association. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So if a particular fighter wins the tournament, the CEO of the company that hired him would not be able to become the chairman. But the same person will be given the power to decide who the next chairman will be from the Kengan Association. Interestingly, to increase the odds, a company can have their subsidiary companies participating in the tournament. This means if either of them wins, they would unhesitatingly select the CEO of their parent company as the chairman of the association. In case you are wondering, the under-the-table games do not end here. As elaborated in Chapter 41 of the Kengan Ashura manga, the association consists of 3 factions: the 3 Nobles, the 4 Dragons, and the Society of 100. So, if a CEO of any of the 3 factions wins the tournament, he would certainly give preferential treatment to the other companies that are part of his faction. What further complicates the situation is that if the sponsoring company of a particular edition of the Kengan Annihilation Tournament is not elected as the new chairman of the association, the company will be dissolved, thus resulting in bankruptcy. In this grand scheme of things, Tokita Ohma plays a pivotal role in helping Nogi Hideki, CEO of Nogi Group, become the next chairman of the Kengan Association. In an interesting turn of events, Ohma caught the eye of Nogi after the former had beaten up Komada Shigeru, a Yakuza fighter who is affiliated with the Nogi Group. His agility and sheer strength against Komada's colossal stature could be described as the major reason why Nogi eventually selected him as a replacement for Komada. Hence, Ohma gets hired by the Nogi Group to represent them in the Kengan matches, with the hope that the 4 Dragons faction would be able to overthrow the influence of Katsuyama Hayami, and, in turn, that of the Society of 100. At the same time, Nogi would be able to escape his fate of going bankrupt. Yet one should not misunderstand Tokita as someone similar to the likes of Komada. Tokita is no doubt of a rough disposition, but he is indeed a good-natured person who likes to keep things to himself. Perhaps the fact that his reserved temperament comes in sharp contrast with his personality as a fighter in the ring might have also impressed the CEO of the Nogi Group. With this, we come to the next part of our main question. Why is Ohma called Ashura? How did this nomenclature come into being? Fight to survive. Why is Tokita Ohma known as the Ashura? The word Ashura is deemed as Ohma's middle name, and that is all because of his inhuman capabilities as a fighter. It can be implied that his abilities are of divine proportions, especially since the term Ashura has quite a few mythological allusions. For instance, in Buddhism, it denotes a demigod or a titan. This is quite pertinent in the case of Ohma, whose physique is remarkably impressive. In a comical scene where Ohma is cooking boar meat while drenched in blood, Kazuo Yamashita looks at his body and is in awe of him. To Yamashita, Ohma's body resembles that of a Greek god, with a sharp chiseled jaw and muscles that seem to have been sculpted by hand. The sheer perfection of his physique is awe-inspiring, to say the least. In Hinduism, however, the word Ashura has a more antagonistic touch. It refers to a vicious demon who is also a remarkable fighter. Quite coincidentally, Ohma's personality in the ring transforms into that of a demonic spirit against his opponents. While Tokita's goodness remains unchanged, he evolves into an unstoppable killing machine when he has to fight in the ring. And in case you are wondering, the viciousness in his fighting techniques is tantamount to the brutality with which he can subdue his opponents at ease. However, in Japanese mythology, the Ashura are fearsome divine entities who are partly similar to humans, except for having multiple limbs and faces. Their stature and strength are of extraordinary standards, since they are fundamentally warriors. The Ashura thrive on the ideas of warfare, violence, destruction, and, quite surprisingly, love. In short, the Ashura are driven by their primal instincts of survival, but still prioritize those who are to be protected and cared for. And Ohma exhibits these attributes quite brilliantly. When he was first scouted by the Nogi group, Ohma was in no way different from an aggressive pit bull. However, in the course of Season 1, we see how Ohma's personality gets reshaped into that of a more emotional, softer person who thinks with his head first. On top of that, there is a remarkable change in his own fighting style as well. With each match, we see a more mature version of Ohma, one that analyzes his enemy's movements in order to come up with the best counterattack. This is quite unlike the Ohma, who teased Kamada just to pick up a fight with him. Marvelous verdict. The very title Ashura is quite fitting for a person like Ohma Tokita. It is incredible to see how our first impression of this guy drastically by the time we witness the thrills unfold in the Season 1 finale of Kengan Ashura. And no, we won't be spoiling the fun for you by talking about the thrills per se. Instead, why don't you go ahead and give it a watch? Season 2 of Kengan Ashura is one of the most anticipated releases of this month, and you really do not want to miss out on the crazy stunts, slow-mo actions, and goofy scenes in between.